Jimmy, just if I could ask one question, you focused an awful lot on presentation of the bid, but how much experience have you got of the construction sector, and in particular how clients evaluate bids?
Yeah, I suppose I concentrated on the presentation because that's my experience, but we have a team of people within the company who would have experience of putting bids together, of managing bids. My colleague Wayne Dignam, who featured in Sunday Times on Sunday, has a track record in construction. He has worked in construction. He's an engineer by profession, and he's worked for one of the larger construction companies in putting bids together over a number of years before he became a bid consultant. So we have a team of people who will help companies with the preparation of the tender document and the management of the bid. We also have a guy called Lorraine Brady who's a qualified architect. Again, most of their time will be spent helping companies put the actual content together. And I suppose I focused this morning on what I was comfortable with from a design background, but we have a team of people who would advise.
One of the big issues is pre-qualification in construction. Actually getting onto the panel of bidders. It's a hugely, it's a big, very difficult area. It's a very expensive process just to be pre-qualified.
Yeah, a lot of the documents I showed there were actually pre-qualification documents. And it's a case of selling yourself, your track record, and the project sheets, using photography. One of the problems we find is with construction companies sometimes they haven't got photographs to show their work. So that I would think is a critical thing, that you get quality professional photography, architectural photography of key projects. If you're going for an education, if it's a school tender, you're going for an education project, it's important that people evaluating the tender can see your track record in education. So photographs and details of education projects will be critical there. The CVs likewise, and how the documents pulled together.
So the question, if there is a move toward electronic tendering, on a presentation level, is there a difference between, or what you should be considering between a paper version and an electronic version, with regard to design and style, etc.?
Yeah, you'll be more limited in what you can do with an electronic version, but you can still lay out the document. A lot of the points, the tips I give there would still apply for electronic document, in terms of breaking up the text. You're more limited in what you can do in terms of the overall presentation, but you still have to sell yourself that you're the best company and that you're the best solution, and to try and, where possible, now again I say it can be limited, but where possible to try and break up a document and try and pull out some of the key unique selling points of your solution, your bid.
How robust is it in that, do you ask the assessors what their interpretation, on a general level is of bids coming in, what do they particularly find irritating about bids that come in? Do you have sort of a robustness?
Yeah, we're
team?
We're constantly getting feedback. We would interact with the contractor on behalf of the client and get debriefing meetings and so on. But a lot of the common things that are coming up is that they don't have, that sometimes questions are answered properly, or some key element is omitted. We worked with a company before Christmas, and the tenant needed a letter from the bank manager. They couldn't get that in time. So that was there's little simple things. A lot of it goes back to the bid no bid decision sometimes, that companies don't put enough time into that, and that they're not selective enough in the bids they're going to go for, and surely you're only going for bids where they have a good track record and where they have a realistic chance of winning. But we're constantly interacting with the contract authorities and getting feedback from them.
Sorry, can I just interject here? Tom O'Brien with the National Procurement Service, and up to about a year ago I was with the Public Sector Construction Contracts Committee. I have to agree a lot with what Jimmy says. The biggest issue we find with tenders coming in is, first of all, they don't address the issue that's been asked. So you put out a submission or a specification as a contracting authority, and a lot of companies will say, okay, this is what we give you, X, Y, and Z, even though you've asked for A, B, and C. It's because you give X, Y, and Z to everybody. So they don't personalise it, they don't customise the offering that they're giving to the actual specification of what's asked. Another thing is that it's very difficult often to read through tenders. You put it out in a certain way of specification, you don't get the response back in that format, and you're searching through trying to find out, have they covered this point, have they covered what we've asked for. A lot of time it's cut and paste, and it's very obvious that it hasn't been well thought through. It's just been slapped together at the last minute. So I agree very much with look at what you're actually offering the contracting authority. Make sure that it's clearly set out point by point. You've asked for this, this is where we've addressed this point, and this is what we're saying. I think that's one of the biggest issues and make sure also that you include any documentation that you've been asked for, because quite often, even from some of the biggest companies, you know, you'll ask for tax clearance certificate, you'll ask for health and safety, you'll ask for licenses, and they don't issue them. Now in some cases you can go back and say, you know, you've left this out, but quite often the tender is closed, you can't go back looking for information that's vital to the tender and then they've lost. And the other one is always be on time. The amount of times that people have been running up the steps, you know, kind of 12:05 when it should be near 12 o'clock. And in most cases we can't accept those tenders. And if we did try to accept them, we then report, because somebody who was in time will take us to court because, you know, you said you were closing it at 12, you accepted the late tender, and we didn't win because of that. So definitely get them in on time as well. That's one of the big issues.
But you're going to say there's a need even for the industry to upskill in the area of proposal preparation, and is there significant? Is that common with places? Would say, is there a need to kind of like let's talk to industry and tell them?
I'd say there is a big issue there. I work a lot with Intertrade Ireland, particularly with SMEs and micro companies, trying to get upskilled them with giving you know, better presentations and better tenders. A lot of the time they believe that the job is put up on eTenders and it's already gone because, you know, somebody has the job, which is not true. But they have all these perceptions about tendering into public sector. But definitely, even with some of the bigger companies, there is a need to focus on, as I say, the evaluator who's going through maybe 10 or 12 of these tenders, trying to pick out, you know, why one company is better than another, and if it's well laid out, if it's, as I say, if it's highlighted, if it's clearly stated, you know, this is what you've looked for, this is what we're offering, and this is what it's going to cost you. You know, that bit is going to be way out in front. And price is not always the big issue. It's quite often it's other issues that are more important.
But I suppose on the price thing, if your bid doesn't stand out, if you're not selling your solution, the valuator has no choice but to go with the cheapest price, unless, you know, it has, you know, if the whole system is so transparent now as well, and under the remedies directive, companies can contest the award of a tender. So like people are taking boxes now. So if you don't answer every question as you should, you'll be excluded, because people have to go through the process, because it can be questioned afterwards and have to justify it. So you know, it's important that the documents fill out properly and that there's no gaps.
Sorry, Jimmy, paper is still king. Have you seen a move towards tendering authorities or bodies awarding tenders looking for digital returns, looking for a CD with documentation on it, or is it all paper, all folders and?
No, there's some electronic tenders out there. They have to be submitted electronically. Yeah.
Pre-quality, because I mean the volume of stuff. I work with corporate surveying practices, and the volumes of information that they have to try and warehouse while they're evaluating it and to wade through. You know, that it just seems to be a horrendous waste of money. You know.
Yeah. There was, like, it hasn't really happened yet, but there was talk last year of moving more towards more tenders going electronic, but there's still most of them are paper-based still. Again, but it will go that direction.
I head up the eTenders government website, and we're currently out to tender for a replacement for that, and that will be going live third quarter this year, and that will very much focus on online submission of tenders, online uploading of submissions from contracting authorities, and then putting it back into your electronic post box and that. So there will be a big move towards that.
Sorry, Jimmy, just one last question. Have you seen any tenders going back with digital models, building information models, or with animations of the program, or with that sort of stuff? Have
video PowerPoint presentation I've seen lately as well, is that being used more now than just the straight 1 to 5 document? Or?
Depends on the bid. Like if there was a design and build tender, which is very few at the moment, but like, you know, you put an awful lot of extra elements into that, but not so much in your standard tender. Like we did a tender submission for a company there about a year ago, and the one I was saying about that was delivered in the box with the castaways. Like there was product samples and a huge amount of additional information put in. But again, depends on the bid, depends on the value of the bid.
I have a question for Tom. In the past, my understanding has been that electronic submissions have lacked a sort of legal robustness. Have you overcome this problem with the next generation of e-tenders?
I don't think we've ever had a problem with electronic tenders being submitted to us. We've certainly never been challenged on them. And we see no issues with electronic submissions. They're used quite a bit in the UK and in Northern Ireland as well. As I say, we do get electronic submissions in through our post box, not as many as we'd like, but as I say, we've never had any problems with them.
Any more questions for Jimmy? No question for CIS? Did you get a chance to any questions about CIS?
I see that there's in that document there that there's 8 billion, well to be exact 8.7 billion euros worth of work just in that document. It's hard to see how that, could you explain how that you could drill down and make that relevant for SMEs, micro companies?
How do you mean?
Or small builder in. No, that's fine. No, you can take the.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it depends on where you look at the information, and the 8.7 billion covers large and small scale projects. So,
well, the smallest project there was 113 million euros.
We have there is a sample of 10 large scale projects, and I think they're the 10 largest.
All right.
That are going ahead at present. So, but there are supply opportunities in those large scale projects also, which would be included in that price. You know, I'm not sure this over, but.
Yeah, so absolutely. If you didn't, for example, see a quantity surveyor consultant on the list, you could see whether they're going to tender for that work.
Exactly. Yeah. And once the tender has been awarded, the contractor and subcontractors will be listed. So, you will then have contact information for those subcontractors. So that's where SMEs will find their opportunities now when they have those extra contact details.
And presumably, you can print out smaller projects as well. You know, your one-off houses and your subcontract work.
We cover 100% of all activity that is sent through the planning authorities.
Yeah.
And again, like that, just going back to your original question, it is a feed-down situation.
Yeah.
So it has to start obviously with the main contractor or the main engineer, and then through the use of our system now, you're able to see the connectivity, who's working on particular sectors or has specialities in areas, and all the subcontractors and suppliers will feed into that, so it is kind of like a food chain.
Okay. Yes, Keith.
Sorry, just one last comment. I was interested in Jimmy's comment at the start. He said the design was principally around the solution, the company, but not necessarily the price. I think as the move to e-tendering comes up, I think doing prices better is going to come out. So I think using design to get a better price and actually engaging people. One of the issues I've seen is that the tenders may be written by someone who may be a sales lead or something like that, but it's not actually the people that will do the job. Whereas some successful companies, what they're doing is they're getting the people who are practitioners to actually look at the tenders and come up with better solutions. So there's actually an evolving design process that's coming in there.
And taking the BAM stuff as well. The BAM stuff, you're exporting the accurate data, you should be getting more accurate quotations, and then that swing between what it actually costs and the risk factor is going to be reduced because people know exactly what they're
I think it actually offers a big opportunity for people to ponder what are the possibilities around projects at that stage as well, because they can decide, are we going for low or high, what kind of range are we going for, and if the practitioners have access to the material, you'll get more relevant bids as well.
Just to see, so looking at projects outside Ireland, Northern Ireland, UK, American stuff, is there much move there towards Irish companies getting out there, or what's the information out there, or what's the in that respect?
We wouldn't have information, to be quite honest, on that. That is outside where we have our core competency is in tracking the data that is going on in Ireland and now the UK. So it's, but there is certainly from interaction and with suppliers and professionals, everybody is looking further and further afield, because obviously we're in a state of paralysis.
Many Irish companies not looking for information up north, and even moving into the northern markets to say, is that?
You have, as I was saying to you earlier on just before, there is, we launched a UK service because, I mean, this year there's 97 billion sterling being planned in construction for 2011 in the UK market. And and we had a launch of our service back in the Aviva Stadium there in June of last year. And again, one of the things was, access to information is one thing, but I think it's brought up earlier on about pre-qualification requirements and things like that. So there are opportunities out there, and Irish companies are looking either through associations with other companies, are going in to work on a project so as they can establish their own base in the UK in particular. But you have a lot of professional companies now going to one of the other areas we're looking at now is the amount of activities going on in the United Emirates. And we're doing that in conjunction with through our relationship with Barber ABI, and to see to identify the opportunities over there, and again feed that information back here. And as I was saying to North American market, although in decline, there is lots of opportunities they feel through reconstruction, that for professional companies and some supply opportunities as well in the North American market.
Okay, we'll just take one more question. We're just a little bit under pressure for time here.
Just one quick question to ask for CIS. With the move to an IT-based system now with yourselves, you can see, was looking at your information in terms of IP addresses, and you can monitor where traffic is coming from. Any foolish companies looking in from abroad into the Irish market?
No, we haven't gone that quite scientific in terms of tracking. Yeah, but there is that facility there.
So you can always tell us when the Vikings are coming.
The Vikings, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
last question then.
Question for Tom. I missed this opportunity. With the National Procurement Agency, is BIM on the agenda in tendering? Are the agency aware of the benefits? And for instance, in the UK, they're talking about mandating building information modelling on large projects. I was just wondering what's the position in Ireland?
Well, we're not. We tendered for goods and services. Works is still handled by Department of Finance. So I couldn't really answer that question.
You have to ask Nicholas a lot on that one.
Yeah, Nicholas would be the person to talk to.
Yeah.